There are also Yangzhou cranes in the human world, but the Pan Tathagata ship of merit and virtue, Yulin Guoshi. 100,000 years ago, the Medicine Master Sect of the Immortal Cultivation Realm mysteriously declined. The golden age of the entire cultivation world has come to an end, falling into endless disputes. 10,000 years later, Yan Futi, a young man who had been ill since childhood, named Yan Zixiu. With a thought of compassion, he stumbled upon the Medicine Master Immortal Mansion, which was home to 12 immortal palaces. From then on, we embarked on the path of a doctor with 10 levels of realm. He had originally planned to help the villagers become wealthy with peace of mind, heal difficult and complicated illnesses for patients, travel around the world in his free time, admire miraculous scenery, and visit high-ranking scholars. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. In order to protect his home, he had to venture into the realm of cultivation and adventure, practicing qi, building foundations, and using golden pills. Is there a world of immortals that is neither contested nor robbed, rich and peaceful? Let's take a look at Yan Zixiu's passionate and heartfelt legend. This is a cultivation-style novel that runs through with compassion, with factual foundations in both traditional Chinese medicine and psychology cases. Outsiders watch the excitement, while insiders watch the tricks. I hope friends who are destined can watch together both inside and outside. Keywords of the novel. The Wizard of Medicine without a pop-up window. Download the complete collection of The Wizard of Medicine TXT, and read the latest chapters of The Wizard of Medicine. Chapter 1. One Mindful Compassion Enters the Immortal Mansion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. One Mindful Compassion Enters the Immortal Mansion. It's another 3 days of traditional Chinese medicine. Yan Zixiu sat on a bench in the hospital, looking helplessly at the traditional Chinese medicine bag inside the synthetic leather bag. He sighed inwardly, I've had enough of these bitter water. When will it be my head? He looked up at the crowds coming and going on the avenue. Patients, family members, visitors, doctors, nurses, and staff, male and female, of all ages, are present. Most people have no expression on their faces, while others have a worried expression on their faces. He looked at the people in front of him and recalled how weak and sickly he had been since childhood. Over the past 20 years, he had taken countless drugs, received countless injections, and suffered countless crimes. He felt a deep emotion in his heart. If only everyone hadn't fallen ill, how good it would have been. When the autumn wind blew, a wudong leaf fluttered down from left to right. Without thinking, Yan Zixiu stretched out his right hand to pick it up. Suddenly, a wave of drowsiness surged up when he woke up again. He found himself sleeping in the wilderness, covered in many fallen leaves. Someone is walking from a distance at this moment. As the person approached, Yan Zixiu felt a warm and comfortable airflow brushing past, and the fallen leaves on his body drifted away. He quickly got up and looked up to find that the person coming was a young man in white. I saw this young man in his 20s, with a towering figure, painted eyebrows, and starry eyes. He had a solemn appearance and a friendly expression, as if he was shining brightly from the inside out. Yan Zixiu had an intuition in his heart that this person was his master. The young man seemed to know his thoughts and nodded with a smile on his face. He raised his hand and pointed to the side, and a glowing door instantly appeared in front of the two. The young man said, "Follow me." Then he took a step towards the door of light. Yan Zixiu followed in and immediately felt like he had arrived at a fairyland. I saw a vast expanse of azure sky, with auspicious clouds blossoming and some very beautiful and strange birds hovering in the air. I and the young man in white are standing on a huge blue jade platform. Surrounding the high platform, there are towering trees and exotic flowers, and a gentle breeze brings a refreshing fragrance. He couldn't help but take a deep breath, feeling refreshed, comfortable, and transparent both inside and outside, with an unprecedented sense of beauty. Looking around again, I saw huge white marble ornamental columns standing on the left and right of the jade platform, towering into the clouds. In front of the jade platform, there are 3 golden steps that slowly descend, extending to a fountain square with a cluster of flowers. After passing the square, there is 100 zhang wide Mingguang Avenue leading into the distance, with no end in sight. On both sides of the avenue, there are hidden spiritual trees, and a dozen or so Qianglun Yuyu buildings can be vaguely seen. On both sides, there are boundless fields, surrounded by clear rivers like jade belts, and golden crops undulating in the wind. Among them are some hills and green mountains, with waterfalls splashing jade and lakes like gemstones, shining brightly everywhere, beautiful and peaceful. What a fairy-like scenery! Yan Zixiu couldn't help but sigh in his heart. What is this place? Okay, that's great. I immediately heard the voice of the young man in white. This is the Medicine Master Immortal Mansion. Pharmacist Immortal Mansion. The young man in white said, yes. This is the gift that I promised to give you back then. Yan Zixiu's mentor-disciple intuition was confirmed, but the question in his heart grew even more. The gift from the past. It's for me now. The master smiled gently and said, slowly you will understand. Can I come here often? Of course. This immortal mansion is for you to carry with you and you can come anytime. Yan Zixiu asked, how did I come? The master lightly patted his shoulder and said, think about it yourself when you turn around. After waving towards the sky, a beautiful parrot of various colors flew over. The parrot flew around the young man in white several times and said, hello master. The master nodded slightly and turned to Yan Zixiu, saying, this is Wuyo. It is the spirit of the Medicine Master Immortal Mansion, who is also the head of the Immortal Mansion. I entrusted you to him. If you have anything to do, you can contact him. Yan Zixiu had never seen a parrot before, and it was so beautiful. He heard Wuyo call the young master, obviously knowing the master in advance. So, isn't Wuyo your senior brother? He waved to Wuyo and smiled, hello, senior brother Wuyo. The parrot tilted its head agilely and said, Zixiu, hello. The young man in white said meaningfully, Zixiu, you should use the Immortal Mansion well. Yan Zixiu didn't quite understand what master meant by these words, and he thought to himself that he didn't know how to come in next time. Let's agree first and then say, yes, master. I will definitely use the Immortal Mansion well. Alright, I have something else to do. I should go now. You can also go back. Yan Zixiu felt reluctant in his heart and said, Master, when will I see you again? Spring is warm and flowers bloom, and water is in its natural course. When the opportunity is ripe, we will naturally see it. The young man in white finished speaking, and with a flash of brilliance, it disappeared. Yan Zixiu was startled to find that he was still sitting on the bench, and a wudong leaf was falling on his right hand. Did I just have a dream? Yan Zixiu experienced himself and felt both physically and mentally comfortable. Over the years, various sickly feelings had disappeared, especially the warm and cozy lower abdomen. Upon further exploration, it was discovered that the traditional Chinese medicine bag was missing, and there was an extra dark green jade ring on my left index finger. Didn't I just have a dream? He took off the ring and carefully examined it, only to see that it had an ancient style, with a refreshing atmosphere surrounding it. There were also some golden star-shaped spots on it, adding a touch of wonder. He put on the ring again and stood up to move around, feeling a new vitality all over his body. The heavy burden that I have been carrying for over a decade seems to have been thrown away at once, and I can't help but feel happy. It's really a blessing from heaven. In addition to being happy, completely forget about the missing Chinese medicine package. Yan Zixiu hesitated happily for a while before stabilizing his mind and stroking the situation in front of him. This is 1992 in Huaxia, the second year he was assigned to Liyuan Township after graduating from vocational school. The village was already facing financial difficulties and was unwilling to recruit new people. But these years, graduation assignments are all mandatory, so the village dragged on for several months and barely accepted him. After officially starting work, the village arranged for a deputy township head to take Yan Zixiu on an internship. Half a year later, let him go to Gula village, which is the second farthest from Liuanji, to sit in line and squat. The main tasks of sitting in a queue are twofold. Firstly, assign various tasks in the village and supervise their completion. Secondly, collect various funds. China, which had just entered the 1990s, was not yet wealthy overall, so the allocation of funds from superiors to the village was far from enough for daily expenses. What should we do? Find a way to raise funds on your own. The so-called self-financing ultimately puts pressure on each village. There is no other way, all departments need to operate normally, primary and secondary school teachers need to receive salaries, and they also need to repair water conservancy, roads, and so on every year. They need money to open and close their eyes. In one sentence, it is difficult in all aspects. Yan Zixiu is an honest and upright person, and due to his weak physique and frequent illnesses, he often takes leave every 3 to 5 days. So the elites in the village don't have much confidence in him. Once, due to his haste, he wrote a somewhat simple note. The leader even read it as a joke to everyone at a village meeting, causing everyone to burst into laughter. This time I came to the First People's Hospital of the city to see my neurasthenia, and the deputy township head in charge reluctantly approved a 3-day leave. Career looks at spirit. From today on, everything is different. He stretched out his arms and legs, felt the vitality on his body, and his confidence rose from deep, carrying his bag out of the hospital. There are still more than 2 days left for the holiday, so Yan Zixiu decided to go home and take a look first. Let parents know that their physical condition has improved, so they don't have to worry too much. He sat on the long-distance bus home, admiring the scenery outside the window. The usually noisy buses seem very quiet today, and everyone's mood seems to be good. He stroked the dark green ring, feeling the fresh and pleasant atmosphere emanating from it, and recalling today's wonderful experience in his heart. I stayed in the Medicine Master Immortal Mansion for a while, but in reality, the leaves had just fallen a short distance. It seems that the time flow of these two worlds is different. That's okay. What does Master mean when he says I can go to the Immortal Mansion at any time and asks me to figure out a way to go on my own? There is also the carefree governor of the mansion, whose voice is really pleasant to hear. Worry-free, 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 that's really good. While muttering about worry-free, suddenly a colorful light flashed before the head of the Immortal Mansion, worry-free, appeared in front of him. Zixiu, do you call me? Yan Zixiu was startled and quickly looked left and right, only to find that the passengers were sleeping and talking, as if they couldn't see or hear worry-free voices. He calmed down and conveyed his thoughts in his heart, saying, "You're a big surprise to me. However, I happen to have a lot of questions to ask you." Wuyo said, "You tell me. Can't everyone see you? Can't you hear what you're saying?" Worry-free replied, "Yes. You can rest assured to communicate with me with your mind." Yan Zixiu breathed a sigh of relief and asked, "Who is his master from?" Worry-free answer. "After a while, you will know." "Oh. So how can I enter the Immortal Mansion?" "Master, let you figure it out for yourself." Yan Zixiu felt puzzled and said, "Why don't you two just tell me directly?" Wuyo let out a pleasant laugh and said, "Just tell you, you don't have a deep impression. You can experience it yourself and it will be better for you." Yan Zixiu said helplessly, Okay. What should I do now?" "First, find a way to actively enter the Immortal Mansion." The topic turned around again, and Yan Zixiu rubbed his forehead helplessly. "Can you give me some hints?" Wuyo was very straightforward this time and said, "Sure. Think about it, how did you enter the Immortal Mansion for the first time?" Yan Zixiu blurted out, "Didn't my master take me in?" Worry-free reminder. "So how did you meet your master?" Yan Zixiu said, "Because I fell asleep and had a dream." "Why did you have this dream?" said Worry-free, coaxing her gently. "I didn't know." "Oh, no, it seems like it's a bit different from my previous dream. Yan Zixiu's mind lit up and he began to sink down to reminisce. The first chapter will be released on October 1st, 2022. 10.13 Signing, Editor-in-Chief, Orange. 11 new members on the starting point new book list, Xianxia, on November 12. Listing on 12.01. 12.08 Silver League. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Methods for opening the Immortal Mansion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Methods for opening the Immortal Mansion. Yan Zixiu began to recall that he had gone to the First People's Hospital of the city to see a doctor and get medicine, not every time or twice. I have been sitting on the bench resting several times. Think about it using exclusion method, what's the difference this time? He slowly pushed the camera back, and before the drowsiness hit, a leaf fell. What about before the leaves fall? Yes, a thought came to my mind. If only everyone hadn't fallen ill, how wonderful it would be. That's right, this idea was not present before. Wuyo nodded and said, the key to opening the Immortal Mansion is right in front of me. Yan Zixiu regained his energy and began to mutter, if only everyone weren't sick, how good it would be. If only everyone weren't sick, how good it would be. After reading it several times, he found no response. What's wrong with this? Wuyo pointed to her chest with her wings. Yan Zixiu realized, oh, it used to be a thought that came from within, but now it's just a thought in his mouth and his heart hasn't moved. It turns out that the key to the Immortal Mansion must have a kind heart. What kind thoughts can be nurtured in front of me? He looked around and didn't seem to have anyone in need of help. However, since everyone is taking a car, I wish all the vehicles and pedestrians on the road safety. He naturally imagined from his heart that everyone would arrive safely at their destination. With this thought in mind, Yan Zixiu suddenly came to a verdant mountain slope. On the left is a peach forest, with peach blossoms blooming like clouds and rosy clouds, green leaves dotted and verdant, all sizes of peaches white and red, bending the branches. Under the tree, there are blooming flowers and herbs, with bursts of fruity and floral fragrance blowing in the wind. There is a huge lawn ahead, with lush green grass and exotic flowers embellishing it. In the middle of the lawn, there is a yellow giant gourd sculpture. Looking back, there is a waterfall flying down the mountain wall behind me, falling into a small lake. The small lake has a radius of 50 zhang and is formed entirely of jade. It is 2 to 3 feet deep and has clear water quality. The bottom of the pond is covered with golden sand particles, shining brightly. The overflowing pool water meandered down the mountain along 8 silver channels. On the right side of the slope, there are scattered pavilions, towers, gardens, springs, and stones, which are beautiful and graceful, surrounded by auspicious clouds, making people forget their worries. While admiring, Wuyo flew over and said, congratulations, you have found the way to enter the Immortal Mansion. Same joy, and thank you very much for your advice. Indeed, I have a deeper impression of myself. Yan Zixiu smiled and said, the air here is really good. Every bite makes people feel comfortable and bright. What do I need to do next? Wuyo said, the next step is to familiarize yourself with the Immortal Mansion. But don't worry, there's plenty of time. How can I get out? Just think about the scene before you came in. Then I'll go out and give it a try. Yan Zixiu closed his eyes and thought about the situation sitting in the bus, then opened his eyes again, and as expected, he returned to reality. Coming and going is just a shuttle of the soul, the body remains in place. He found it very interesting. At this moment, a tractor filled with corn cobs passed by the bus with great vigor. It's autumn harvest season again. The autumn harvest may sound poetic and picturesque, but Yan Zixiu knew that the hard work and sweat involved were unknown to those who had not experienced it firsthand. It's often hot during the annual corn harvest season. People need to burrow into the corn tent and break it off one by one. If you wear long sleeves, you will feel stuffy and hot. If you wear short sleeves, corn leaves will make your arms itch and hurt. After the corn is broken, it needs to be taken home, braided into corn braids and hung on trees and courtyard walls for drying. When it dries, it needs to be manually threshed. Because they are busy with other tasks during the day, every household has to stay up late at night and go to work to peel corn. If you don't thresh in time and get caught in the rain, you will also get moldy. Yan Zi couldn't have imagined coming here, but suddenly his heart moved and he asked Wuyo, "Is there a way to thresh the corn cob as soon as possible?" Wuyo said, "Yes, there are electric threshers, manual threshers, and linkshire threshers." Yan Zixiu was taken aback and said, "You actually understand technology. I thought the Immortal Mansion was full of immortal pills and fruits." He couldn't understand what the spirit stone was and ignored the past. Wuyo deliberately sighed and said, "You still know very little about the Immortal Mansion. It's just a drop in the ocean. Of course there are immortal pills and immortal fruits, but the Immortal Mansion is very balanced, with a total of 12 palaces, one of which is called Tiangong City, which specializes in refining weapons. The technology in this world is still in its primitive stage compared to the refining tools in Tiangong City." Yan Zixiu couldn't believe it. "Ah! If we take out the technology of Tiangong City, won't we suddenly achieve the 4 modernizations and catch up with the beauty of the English Premier League?" Worry-free said, "Truth is told in batches, good deeds are done in batches. From the perspective of humanity as a whole, the development of technology cannot be too fast. If the level of consciousness lags behind technological progress, human society will only accelerate towards the cliff of self-destruction. Just like a child playing with a big knife, it will hurt oneself. Moreover, even if you take it out, will people believe you all at once? The most practical problem is that the things you can bring out of the Immortal Mansion are very limited." Yan Zixiu pondered for a moment and said, "You're right. You need to take it slow. But what do you mean by saying that I can only bring out limited things from the Immortal Mansion?" Wuyo said, "It's like having a spring, but the spring has been blocked for a long time, with only some cracks leaking out. No matter how much groundwater there is, how much can you give to others?" Yan Zixiu asked, "What do you mean is that the Medicine Master Immortal Mansion is like an underground spring, and the pipes that flow into the real world are still very unobstructed? How can we open the spring?" Wuyo said, "Yes, it's not clear yet. The way to make the spring eye clear is to increase wisdom, expand mental capacity, and use the Immortal Mansion more to help those who are destined. Is it possible to help everyone reduce the labor burden of autumn harvest from now on? Of course it works. The more people you help, the stronger your ability to use the Immortal Mansion, the stronger your ability to use the Immortal Mansion, the more you can help more people. Such a virtuous cycle." Yan Zixiu felt invigorated and said, "Can you tell me what to do now?" Worry-free suggestion. "Can you bring out a sample and drawings of a human-powered corn thresher now? You can find a mechanical factory to order a batch. This is feasible. We'll be heading to the machinery factory in the county. I'll get off now. Hey, driver." Yan Zixiu got off the car, and there was still over a mile left from the machinery factory. As he walked, he communicated with Wuyo, "How heavy is the prototype? How can it be taken out? How can it be carried over?" Wuyo said, "It weighs about 40 pounds. I'll help you take it out. There's a small cart attached, you can pull it over." As he spoke, a small flatbed cart, a thresher, and a set of drawings appeared in front of Yan Zixiu. Yan Zixiu looked at everyone in front and behind, and felt relieved. Looking at the machine again, it sparkled brightly and said, "Worry-free, it doesn't look like something from the human world. Can you keep a low profile?" "Sure." With a flash of light, the cart and thresher became plain and unadorned. Ingtian County Hongqing Machinery Factory is not small in scale. The red brick courtyard wall and double steel doors look quite imposing. Yan Zixiu and the gatekeeper expressed their intention to negotiate business, and then followed the path indicated by the gatekeeper to the office of Zhu Xingliang, the deputy director of production. Although the door was open, he still knocked on it. "Please come in." A chubby bald man wearing reading glasses sat behind his desk, busy, and looked up from above his glasses. "Hello, Director Zhu. Are you?" "My name is Yan Zixiu. I have a sample of a corn thresher and would like to ask if you can commission production." "Corn thresher." Director Zhu stood up and looked at it. "This is a fresh thing. Take it in and take a look." Coincidentally, the vegetable field in the factory has planted some corn, and there are also some corn cobs. "Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen. Ah." A young man wearing a blue work uniform ran in. "Go to the kitchen and get some corn cobs." "Okay." Xiao Chen ran out. It was really lively. Director Zhu said, "Please take a seat." "Where are you from, Xiaoyan?" "From Shiheji in Baogong Township, this county." Director Zhu poured a glass of water and handed it to Yan Zixiu, then took the blueprint and said, "This blueprint is professional. Did you design it?" "Where and where, my classmate designed it." Director Zhu praised, "Your classmate is a talented person. TSK, this picture was made. To be honest, I have never seen someone so professional before." "Yes, my classmate is indeed very professional." Yan Zixiu followed with a snort, Of course, the products produced by the Immortal Mansion are excellent." In no time, Xiao Chen ran back and brought 5 or 6 corn cobs. The 3 of them unloaded the thresher from the small cart and stabilized it before starting the experiment. "This machine is not complicated, it's easy to understand at a glance." Director Zhu shook the wheel with his left hand and pushed the corn cob into the work cylinder with his right hand. Zzz, in 5 or 6 seconds, a stick peeled off completely. Lightweight, labor-saving, fast. Director Zhu gave several evaluations. Xiao Chen also tried it and praised, "This thing is good, it will definitely be popular." "Xiao Chen, go call Director Zhang and Director Zhao. Bring a few more sticks," Director Zhu ordered. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Corn Thresher and Treasure List. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Corn Thresher and Treasure List. Okay, Xiao Chen ran out again. "Xiao Chen is not bad," Yan Zixiu praised. "Yeah, I just started working for 6 months and I'm a good kid," Director Zhu said as he inspected the corn kernels on the ground. "The factory director's office is all close, and those 2 factory directors will come soon." Director Zhu introduced, "This is Yan Zixiu who is here to contact our cooperative business. Xiao Yan, this is our factory director, Zhang Changfu. This is Zhao, the factory director in charge of sales, Zhao Bin." Yan Zixiu understood that the middle-aged fat man known as factory director Zhang was the top leader, and the round and white-faced factory director Zhao was the deputy. "Hello, 2 factory directors. Please take good care of me. Normally, when it comes to contacting business, smoking is necessary, but Yan Zixiu does not smoke. Additionally, he has confidence and does not want to engage in this kind of behavior." "Hello Xiaoyan. Lao Zhu, is this?" The 2 factory directors looked at the thresher with some confusion. Director Zhu introduced the whole story and said, "Xiao Yan and his classmates designed this artificial corn thresher and want to commission our factory to produce it." The 2 factory directors were quite interested and began to try it out. Coincidentally, Xiao Chen brought some corn cobs and everyone had a great time trying them out. Corn kernels are not broken, corn cobs are not rotten, and everyone thinks this machine is good. "Xiao Yan, how do you plan to commission production?" "Director Zhang, Director Zhu, Director Zhao, I'm not very familiar with mass production. I'm just thinking about how to reduce the labor burden on farmers. Could you please provide a specific plan first?" Yan Zixiu said truthfully. The three factory directors can say that they have seen all kinds of people, but they have never seen such an honest person to contact the business. They looked at each other and said, Xiao Yan, please sit down for a while and have a cup of tea. Let's go to the technical department to study and research. Xiao Chen, please tidy up the stall and entertain Xiao Yan. You guys go ahead and don't worry about me. I'll help Xiao Chen. After tidying up, Yan Zixiu said to Xiao Chen, You're busy, I can read the newspaper. He picked up a newspaper from the newspaper rack, and at that time, the office usually put recent newspapers together. He seems to be reading newspapers, but in fact, he is experiencing his body. Because when I helped Xiao Chen just now, he felt a comfortable breath flowing through his lower abdomen and dantian area. He sat quietly, as if his eyes had opened in his heart, and he could see a green lotus flower in the dantian, gently swaying in bud. The comfortable atmosphere emanates from the lotus flower. The mind can also zoom in on the lotus, revealing a space inside the lotus, as if it were a world. He asked worry-free in his heart, What is this? The essence of the Medicine Master Immortal Mansion. With the sound of worry-free, the world rapidly began to enlarge. I don't know how many times it has been enlarged, frozen in a panoramic view. This high platform, this square, this avenue, isn't this the place where my master and I first entered? And where did I end up for the second time? With this thought, the screen quickly shifted to the left for a short distance, revealing the green mountain slope. Yan Zixiu felt particularly fresh and tirelessly watched, feeling in his heart, this is really carrying the blue sky and looking down. While watching, three factory directors returned. Yan Zixiu withdrew his immersed mind, put down the newspaper, and stood up. Xiaoyan, we have researched and found this project to be good and promising. However, we have other production tasks and cannot invest too much production capacity at the moment. We would like to establish a long-term cooperative relationship with you. Do you think it is feasible? What is the long-term cooperation method? We hope that you and your classmates can authorize our factory with exclusive production rights. As for the cost, we will first give you 20,000 yuan at once, and then for every machine sold, we will raise 2 more yuan. They have calculated that for rural sales in the local area, there are over 2,000 village committees, each selling 50 units, which is 100,000 units. The profit from 1 unit is 10 yuan, which is 1 million yuan. Not to mention the surrounding areas. Of course, this is an idealized estimate, and there are still many variables involved. Yan Zixiu doesn't know so much about the situation and doesn't have a clear concept of tens of thousands of dollars. I only know that a certain township leader bought a color TV for over 10,000 yuan. But he didn't think it had anything to do with himself. He earns over 100 yuan a month and only buys a color TV in 10 years. At present, he is eager to truly help farmers reduce their burden and expand the channels of the Immortal Mansion. Let me ask first, what is the approximate price that can be obtained by selling to farmers? We estimated that the first batch, due to its small quantity and high cost, had an estimated factory price of 50 yuan, and in the end, it would cost around 70 yuan to farmers' hands. Yan Zixiu felt that 70 yuan was a bit high and said, all right. Just give us 10,000 yuan for a one-time fee, and the commission for each unit sold will also be reduced to 1 yuan. Let's see if we can reduce some costs and make farmers less burdened. The three factory directors were a bit confused, thinking that the person in front of them was a strange person. When it comes to business, people always ask for more money, but I haven't seen many who ask for less money yet. They didn't know Yan Zixiu's true intention, which was to promote themselves and others. Because they had experienced the tiredness of farming, they also hoped that the labor burden of farmers would be reduced. Of course, Yan Zixiu did not completely ignore himself. If you have plenty of money on hand, it's also convenient to do something good. Although surprised, the three factory directors were still touched by Yan Zixiu's sincerity. Director Zhang, the head of the factory, said to the two deputy directors, "It's rare for Xiao Yan to be so sincere. Let's continue to work hard and squeeze in all aspects to see if we can lower the factory price to 45% and ultimately bring the selling price to 60%. That's great." Yan Zixiu estimated that the efficiency of the thresher is about 10 times, and once it is deployed, it will greatly reduce the labor burden. Thinking about it, everyone is happy. "Three brothers, if there are any new designs in the future, I will come to you for help." The three factory directors were overjoyed. It seems that they have done the right thing in reducing costs. Director Zhang asked Xiao Chen to print the cooperation agreement while warmly leaving Yan Zixiu for lunch. Wuyo Chuanin reminded, "Don't drink alcohol, eat less meat and more vegetables." Yan Zixiu quickly declined and said, "I was not in good health recently and just recovered. The doctor said I shouldn't drink alcohol and should eat less meat and more vegetables. A work meal is enough." Director Zhu's eyes flickered with a hint of disappointment, but he still smiled and said, "No problem, let's drink drinks with less meat and more vegetables." Yan Zixiu's father once said, "Small factories are afraid of eating, big factories are afraid of greed." Small factories have limited capital and cannot afford to eat and drink excessively. Eating and drinking in large enterprises usually won't hurt their muscles or bones, but when corrupt insects appear, they are prone to collapse. In fact, many people in enterprises enjoy eating and drinking, and if there are customers coming and going, there are even more excuses. As a result, Yan Zixiu couldn't drink alcohol this time, so Director Zhu was somewhat disappointed. At the dinner table, as expected, do not drink alcohol, drink beverages, and eat less meat and more vegetables. Because of the pleasant cooperation, the atmosphere is very good. The factory directors also asked Yan Zixiu how old he is and whether he is married. To be honest, Yan Zixiu is still single at the age of 20.1. The factory directors just want to recommend factory flowers. Yan Zixiu felt a bit embarrassed and shook his hands randomly. Laughter kept going for a moment. In the middle, Xiao Chen brought the agreement and wrapped it up with 10,000 yuan to deliver. 10,000 yuan. Just stating that the numbers were not obvious, Yan Zixiu felt a little excited as he looked at the thick stack of 100 yuan bills. He has been handling so much money for the first time. "I couldn't help but feel a little regretful, feeling that I had made too much concessions just now. Not eating or drinking, it will take 10 years to save tens of thousands of money. But on second thought, it was all given for free by my master, and I felt relieved." Yan Zixiu signed and said, "I don't know when production can start. The season doesn't wait, the earlier the better." Director Zhang, the head of the factory, said, "We have discussed it and it will start in the afternoon. If you want it, the factory price will be 45%. Call Lao Zhu's phone number and feel free to contact him at any time." Yan Zixiu's arrogance rose again and he counted out 1,000 yuan. "Thank you very much. Can you send me 20 units tomorrow morning? The extra 100 will be included in the shipping cost. I don't want my family to be burdened anymore." "No problem, you agree on the time and location. Yinglu Road, Zhezhuang Road intersection in Baogong Township. Let's wait at 9 o'clock in the morning at the intersection." "Okay, send Xiao Chen to deliver it, you know each other." Director Zhang made a decision. After boarding the long-distance bus again, Yan Zixiu sat down and had a conversation with Wuyo Chuanin, saying, "What is my current level of use of the Immortal Mansion? Can it be visually displayed?" "Sure. I'll show you the treasure list, only you can see it yourself." Yan Zixiu saw a piece of paper in front of him, antique and fragrant, with the following listed on it. The Inner Canon Department of the Canon Building. The Heart Sutra, Folklore Section. Blank Yawang Mountain, blank space Xiangji's High Flavor Enhancing Spirit Liquid X1, Xiayi Pavilion, blank space, Lingji Garden, blank space, Xianqin Mountain, blank space, Tiangongqing Human Powered Corn Thresher X Infinity, Optional Small Machinery X1, Beike Palace, Moonstone X1, Jianle Palace, blank space, Miao Huifang, blank space Ranxiang Valley blank, Lingfu Hall, blank space Yan Zixiu was both surprised and delighted. Is this the name of the 12 palaces? I have seen it in Journey to the West, in the Heart Sutra. What is the flavorful spiritual liquid? What is the moonstone? What are the X1 and infinity? Worry-free patient explanation. If you have seen the Heart Sutra, you have activated the relevant original scriptures and annotations in the Immortal Mansion Sutra Collection building. The flavored spiritual liquid, of course, can make various foods more delicious and beneficial to physical and mental health. Moonstones can be used for lighting at night. X1 represents one unit of physical objects to be taken at a time, and X infinity represents an unlimited number of physical objects to be taken at a time. Before you go to the machinery factory, the threshing machine is also X1. Clicking on the name of the physical object with your mind will present a 3-dimensional shape, with vivid colors, sounds, fragrance, and annotations on the side. Yan Zixiu tried to use his mind to tap on the flavor-enhancing liquid, and a semi-transparent sheep fat jade clean bottle appeared. Inside, a faint blue liquid filled the bottle could be seen, exuding an extremely comfortable and refreshing fragrance. The annotation states that the flavoring liquid, produced by Yangzhou, can enhance the color, aroma, and aroma of any raw or cooked food by 3 levels, and is beneficial for physical and mental health. This bottle of spiritual liquid can gain millions of pounds. Okay, good thing. Looking at the changes in the number of threshers before and after, does it mean that in order to go from 1 to unlimited, it is necessary to open up a production point for the relevant physical objects on Earth? Yes. So, the passage that opens the spring is like this. You think that the more people you have, the more you interact with them. The more you give, the richer you become. Yan Zixiu was very happy. The Immortal Mansion is getting richer and richer. Old iron workers invest in monthly tickets. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Qiankun Ring. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Qiankun Ring. At around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Yan Zixiu got off the car at the intersection of Daqiao Village and habitually looked at his watch. After getting off the car, walk 2 miles on a dirt road in the countryside, cross a small river covered in reeds, and you will reach Xinliang village where your home is located. There was no one on the road, so he continued to chat with Wuyo. Wuyo told him that there were several other ways to enter the Immortal Mansion that he could slowly explore. What you explore on your own is direct experience, which is very different from the indirect experience that others tell you. Why do we say that what we gain on paper is shallow, and that we must practice to know this matter? That's the truth. Yan Zixiu exclaimed, do you still understand philosophy? Do you still understand classical poetry? Worry-free smiled and said, slightly understanding. Yan Zixiu is very happy because he is also a person who enjoys reading and learning, and now he has friends to communicate with. Wuyo reminded that at this stage, entering the Immortal Mansion is best done in a quiet and uninhabited environment. Although the time flow rates of the 2 realms are different, staying in the Immortal Mansion for a long time may only take a while in real life, but it will still affect your reaction speed. Of course, becoming proficient in entry and exit in the future is another matter. Yan Zixiu suddenly thought of a question. What's wrong with this ring? Wuyo said, this is the Qiankun ring. It is a space treasure for mustard to nourish the body. You can put many things inside. What is mustard Nesumi? Small can accommodate big. Time and space are not fixed and unchanging. If you don't understand, let's talk about how to use it. Yan Zixiu has always put aside things that he doesn't understand at all. You guide the essence of the Immortal Mansion, which is the spiritual energy released by the lotus flower, to open it. Yan Zixiu followed his words and indeed saw a large space, like an open-air storage center, divided into 12 areas, each with the size of a football field. The left 6 are red, and the right 6 are green. Wuyo explained, the red ones store ordinary items, while the green ones can hold various living things, animals, or plants. So magical. Can you still live? Hey, I saw the lost Chinese medicine bag. It looks so small inside. That's what I helped you collect. The time in the red domain doesn't flow, so it won't break. If you want something to enter or exit, it's better to use your mind to guide spiritual energy, just touch it. Use it more in the future, and become more proficient as you use it. The medicine bag is out. It's indeed out. Go in again. Go in again. Come out. Go in. By the way, I need to put this 9,000 yuan inside. Worry-free said again, this ring can become whatever you want it to be. Then turn it into a bracelet. As soon as Yan Zixiu finished speaking, the ring turned into a bracelet, with 12 jadeite and 12 diamonds shining together. Transform into another lotus flower. The bracelet suddenly transformed into a lotus flower, with a blue lotus platform, golden fur, and bright red petals. Yan Zixiu counted, and there were also 12 petals. Worry-free, this number 12 often appears. What is there to say? You will know in the future. Okay, it left a deep impression on me again. Will you lose this Qiankun ring? How could it be? If everything is lost, it won't be lost either. Then I can rest assured, hee. By the way, worry-free, no matter what it turns into, it looks so beautiful. Will it be too eye-catching? You can make it hidden. Can it still be hidden? Hidden. The lotus flower was indeed missing, but there was still a feeling in her hand. Manifestation. The lotus appeared again. Turn into a ring. Hide. Reveal. Turn into a book. Hide. Reveal. What a great treasure. Along the way, Yan Zixiu had a lot of fun playing. Unconsciously, we arrived at the small river, and to the south of the river was Xinliang village. Xinliang village was newly built in the mid-1970s, so it is planned uniformly. Each household is 5 zhang long from east to west and 4 zhang wide from north to south, very spacious. There are 4 rows in front and back of the village, 8 rows on the left and right, totaling more than 30 households and over 100 people. The small river that Yan Zixiu needs to pass through is behind the village. Except for summer, there is basically no water, so although there is no bridge, it can be walked through. The reeds in the river rise and fall with the wind. When Yan Zixiu was a child walking alone through the reeds, the wind blew and the reeds rustled, and he often felt a little scared. Of course it doesn't matter now. When the reeds are ripe, they can be cut and woven into mats to sell for money, and Yan Zixiu's grandfather will make mats. Every year, every household in Xinliang village receives some. When Yan Zixiu was a child, he witnessed with his own eyes that Xinliang village almost had a group fight with Shaoqiao village on the other side due to a dispute over reeds. At that time, an old lady in our village lay down and pretended to be injured before anyone else could touch her, shouting loudly. Instead, everyone was stunned and in the end, they didn't start fighting. It's all because of poor characters, Yan Zixiu sighed and shook his head as he looked back at the reeds. On the riverbank, I kept encountering the villagers. As before, Yan Zixiu didn't like to take the initiative to greet people. He wasn't in good health, didn't have the mood, and didn't have that much energy. Today is different. He sees everyone taking the initiative to greet him, including uncles, aunts, brothers, and sister.in.law, laughing and shouting non-stop. Most of the villagers are relatively simple, and they all respond with a smile. As Yan Zixiu is now a township cadre, those who are more snobbish are also smiling at each other. The most common change is that after everyone responds and looks at him carefully, they will be stunned. Zixiu, your complexion is so good, but it's very different from before. Yan Zixiu had already figured out his answer on the way and replied that he had encountered a skilled traditional Chinese medicine practitioner who had helped him with his treatment. This is not a lie. Isn't the master who can create the Medicine Master Immortal Mansion the most skilled traditional Chinese medicine practitioner? Yan Zixiu's home is in the first row, with the left side leaning against the middle road. There are 2 courtyards in total, east and west. The courtyard to the east was originally built by my grandparents when they built a new village. Later, my grandparents found it inconvenient to do bean sprout business in the countryside, so they moved back to Shiheiji. The yard was left for Yan Zixiu's family. The 2 rooms left by my grandparents have long been demolished, and 4 main rooms with a 2+2 style, 2 east rooms, and an east-facing gatehouse have been built. The western courtyard also has 4 main rooms, which are 3+1 style, with 1 kitchen and a south-facing entrance. There is a moonlit door connecting the 2 courtyards of the east and west. As soon as he entered the gate of the west courtyard, Yan Zixiu saw his mother Zifeng sitting in the yard peeling corn. He shouted, "Mom, I'm back." Mother Zifeng, 48 years old this year, has fair skin and looks very young. She looked up at the sound and said, "Zixiu has returned. Hey, why is your complexion so good? I met a skilled traditional Chinese medicine practitioner who helped me regulate my body," Yan Zixiu said as he placed his leather bag on the table in the main room, pulled up a small stool, and went to the yard to help peel corn. Peeling corn is the process of removing corn kernels from a dried corn cob. Generally, a screwdriver is used to punch them every 2 or 3 rows before peeling them by hand. If someone has planted a few acres of corn, then this job really needs to be done. When it comes to peeling corn, there is also a humorous conversation. When Yan Zixiu was 4 or 5 years old, he also wanted to participate in corn peeling, but he was too young and powerless. The adults separated the corn cobs and washed them away. This is not enough, we also need to pull out 1 corn kernel every 4 or 5 in a single row. Finally, the corn kernels on the stick were as sparse as city wall stacks. Let the kid rest and peel it off. Everyone laughed at him. You have to spend a lot of money on a job like this. The whole process was actually coaxing him to play. My mother said, "That's really very grateful to them. Take a look at what's suitable at home and bring some for them in the future." Yan Zi couldn't have imagined that he wouldn't be able to see his friendly master for a while and a half, feeling a bit low. "I've seen him once, but I can't find him for a while." He thought to himself, "Master seems to be like a divine dragon that never sees its end. I don't know when we'll be able to meet again." Mother asked, "Are you not working today?" "I took 3 days off. I feel very well now, so I came back to let you take a look, so that you and I can rest assured. I'll do some more work for you, and I'll go back to my hometown early the day after tomorrow. Anyway, there won't be much official work these days." Yan Zixiu's hometown, where his father is called De. His father, Yan Sheng, worked as the deputy director of a distillery more than 60 miles away and only returned once a week or 2. Yes, work is important, take fewer leave if possible. The 2 of them were chatting while working, and it would be around 6 p.m. in the afternoon. It was getting late. My mother said, "You go to the West house and wash 2 carrots and a sweet potato, and I'll go make tea." She cooked dinner in the countryside and called it tea making. Yan Zixiu washed carrots and sweet potatoes, and had a sudden idea. His mind asked worry-free, "Can we use flavoring liquid?" Wuyo said, "Yes." Yan Zixiu was overjoyed and said, "Hurry up and do it." With worry-free wings, a white jade sheep fat bottle appeared in the air, and some transparent mist spilled out, landing on carrots and sweet potatoes. Yan Zixiu was sent to the kitchen, then lit a kerosene lamp and placed it next to the basket containing corn kernels, continuing to peel the corn. "Zixiu, it's time for dinner." After a while, the mother's voice came over. Okay, Yan Zixiu moved out the small dining table and went to help with the meal. He said to his mother, "Mom, a classmate lent me some artificial corn threshers. I'll use a cart to pull them back on the official road tomorrow morning. The village called the road official road. This is a good thing. Peeling corn really takes up too much manpower. Everyone is busy and can't even hire anyone. If there were a thresher, it would be much easier. Dinner is boiling mantou, salad, carrots, sweet potato and rice soup. Yan Zixiu tasted the carrots. Wow, they were really delicious. I took another sip of sweet potato and rice soup. Wow, it tastes so delicious. He is not a foodie and cannot say such vivid and delicate words. He only feels happy both physically and mentally, and every cell is singing a hymn of praise. My mother was pleased to see him eating with relish beside her. The child's health has improved, and his meals are also delicious. Mom, you eat too. Okay. My mother took a bite of the carrot and said, "Hey, why is the carrot so delicious today?" The soup is also very delicious. For a moment, neither of the women wanted to talk anymore and buried their heads in eating. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Adjusting Insomnia. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Adjusting Insomnia. After finishing his meal, Yan Zixiu helped tidy up the dishes and asked his mother, "Mom, how many carrots and sweet potatoes do we still have at home?" Carrots weigh about 500 to 600 pounds, sweet potatoes weigh 5,000 to 6,000 pounds, all of which are stored in the Western house. Do you think tonight's carrots and sweet potatoes are delicious? It's delicious, especially delicious. I've never eaten anything so delicious before. What's going on? Yan Zixiu smiled and said, "When washing carrots and sweet potatoes, I used a high-tech biological regulator developed by my teacher." Do you have the ability to teach agriculture as a teacher? My mother was somewhat puzzled. Upon hearing this, Yan Zixiu misunderstood. He was talking about his master, and his mother thought he was his teacher at an agricultural school. Okay, master has become a teacher of agriculture again. Anyway, master knows everything, that's not bad to say. He chuckled vaguely and said, "The fruits and vegetables improved with biological regulators are not only delicious, but also have great benefits for the body. I will adjust a batch of carrots and sweet potatoes tonight, and go to the market early tomorrow morning. They will definitely sell well." Mother said, "Don't you still have to peel corn at night? Your body is just a little better, don't get tired." Yan Zixiu said, "You don't need to stay up late to peel corn. Shouldn't you bring back the thresher tomorrow morning? As long as you're willing to lend the thresher to everyone, don't worry about no one to help. It's estimated that you'll be able to peel all the corn in just noon." Okay. You should go to bed early too. Mother closed the door and the main room door and went to rest. Yan Zixiu carried a kerosene lamp and went to the west room. He peeled off the plastic cloth covering the carrots and sweet potatoes and said, "Worry-free, sprinkle the spiritual liquid." After Worry-free sprinkled it, Yan Zixiu found about 10 burlap bags, half bags filled with carrots and sweet potatoes. Carrots weigh about 100 pounds, while sweet potatoes weigh 200 to 300 pounds. Worry-free asked, "How can we pretend so little?" Yan Zixiu exclaimed, "Brother Wuyo, I can't even move with too much. I'm just in shape, walking to pull the cart is only 4 or 5 miles away from the market. You're not used to using the Qiankun ring. However, there are many people in the market, and you can't keep using the Qiankun ring. It's too shocking and vulgar. If you can't pull it, you can use livestock instead." "Who's using it from?" "I don't have one at home. My uncle's house in the west has a donkey. He's very stingy, how could he be willing to borrow it?" "Why borrow it? Why don't you just take the money and rent it out?" Yan Zixiu patted his head and said, "Oh my, I'm used to being poor and want to do everything on my own. Yes, I have money and a household of 10,000 yuan. If I don't want to use him in vain, my uncle will definitely be willing to do it." Wuyo smiled and said, "You don't know how wealthy you are now, nor can you imagine how wealthy you will be in the future." Yan Zixiu also smiled and said, please allow me to slowly adapt to the life of a millionaire. Uncle Simon is adjacent to the Yan family, with 3 main rooms, a kitchen to the east, and a livestock shed. There is an aisle between the kitchen and the main room, which connects to the Yan family. Yan Zixiu walked through the aisle and said, "Uncle, are you busy drinking tea?" In rural dialect, having dinner doesn't mean anything, let's finish drinking. Zixiu, have you come back? My uncle is 40 years old this year, very handsome, and is busy working in the barn. De Gomzi also came out of the kitchen and said, Zixiu has returned. De Gomzi was not tall, had a chubby figure, and had an ordinary appearance. Back then, due to poverty, my uncle couldn't afford to go to school and couldn't read, so it was not easy to say he went to the media. So I had no choice but to marry De Gomzi. It is said that after the first blind date, my uncle hugged his head and cried bitterly, probably feeling that his handsomeness was lacking. However, although De Gomzi is poor, he is particularly kind and doesn't care about things. He is poor and generous. My uncle sometimes scolds her when he's in a bad mood, and even hits her. She just chuckles and doesn't care. I'm back. Uncle, let me discuss something for you. Tomorrow morning, I would like to borrow your donkey. One is to sell something at the market, and the other is to bring back some corn threshers. Borrowing a donkey. Uncle hesitated. Yan Zixiu smiled in his heart and said, it's not just a loan, it's for a friend's help. A friend is willing to give money, 20 yuan a morning. In fact, 10 yuan is not much. Yan Zixiu only earns 3 or 4 yuan a day. Uncle rubbed his hands and said, there's nothing out there. What money should I pay back? De Gomzi also said, that's right, what money should I give? However, her uncle glanced at her. The big box remained silent. Yan Zixiu was well aware that the big box was really free of money, but the big uncle pretended to be polite and looked at the box because he was afraid that the fraud would come true. Yan Zixiu took out his wallet, pulled out 2 big unity cards, and handed them to his uncle, saying, they are genuine. Uncle, please take them first. Uncle quickly took the money and said, don't worry, I will feed the donkey early tomorrow morning, so as not to delay anything. Okay. Uncle, please rest. I'm going back. Yan Zixiu returned to the west room and loaded another 100 kilograms of carrots and 200 or 300 kilograms of sweet potatoes onto the rack truck. Then he carried a kerosene lamp to the east house of the east courtyard, where he lived. There are 4 main rooms in the east courtyard, with 2 rooms in the east belonging to my elder brother and sister. Law, and 2 rooms in the west belonging to my sister. My sister has just got married, and the house is still kept for her. The 2 east rooms on the east side, the one on the south side is the backup kitchen, and the one on the north side is the place where Yan Zixiu and his second brother live together. Anyway, they are currently single men, so it doesn't matter. However, the eldest brother, sister. Law, and second brother are not at home and each has their own job. So the entire east court, Yan Zixiu is alone today. The wick of the kerosene lamp emits a yellow-white light through the glass cover. Yan Zixiu sat at the desk in the east room, with a myriad of thoughts. What happened today is unbelievable. Is it true? Is it fantasy? To be honest, how could it be? Let's say it's an illusion, there are so many real changes. Should we go back to the Immortal Mansion to verify it again? He thought for a moment and decided to go to bed. He still needs to wake up early tomorrow. He doesn't want to stay up late now because he has the Immortal Mansion and confidence. Except for the unavoidable work and study that requires staying up late, all other meaningless staying up late is a sign of lack of confidence in tomorrow. Blowing out the kerosene lamp, Yan Zixiu took off his clothes and lay on the bed, feeling restless and without any drowsiness. Won't you suffer from insomnia again? Over the years, he has experienced insomnia quite a bit. At this moment, Wuyo said, your nervous system is too excited. Traditional Chinese medicine says that qi and blood float upwards, and yang does not enter yin. What should we do then? This way. First, gently focus your attention on the soles of your feet. I'll tell you the next step later. Okay. Yan Zixiu gently focused his attention on the soles of his feet. When his thoughts ran away, he pulled them back, and when he ran again, he pulled them back. After a while, a worry-free voice came. Now focus on your abdomen. With your breath, your abdomen will naturally rise and fall, gently following this kind of rise and fall. Yan Zixiu obediently followed suit, feeling less and less distractions, and your mind and body becoming more relaxed and empty. Gejijin. A sound of roosters crowing came, and Yan Zixiu opened his eyes. Oh, it's dawn. As soon as he closed his eyes and opened them, the night passed. This was a really comfortable night. He looked at his watch, got up at 6:30, put on his clothes, picked up his toiletries, went to the water well, put them down, and went to the kitchen. He scooped up a spoonful of water with a water spoon, poured it into the water well, and began to drip water loudly. This spoonful of water is called water diversion. Without water diversion, groundwater is not easily pressurized. My mother got up early and was sweeping the yard. Yan Zixiu washed his face and asked, "Mom, how was your rest last night?" "It's great. It's been a long time since I had such a good sleep." "Me too, it's been a long time since I had such a good sleep." As he was speaking, his uncle came over from the hallway holding a donkey and said, "Zixiu, are you up?" "Good morning, uncle." "You wash your face first, I'll wrap the car up." "I've washed it." Yan Zixiu went over and flattened the cart, making it easy for the donkey to get caught. My mother asked, "Do you want to eat something to make a cushion first?" In rural areas, we usually work for a while before having breakfast. In rural primary schools, we also go to school in the early morning and come back to have breakfast. Yan Zixiu's home is 4 miles away from elementary school. In the morning, noon, and afternoon of that year, there were 6 trips a day, and the sun was nowhere to be seen at both ends. Just by going to elementary school alone, he had walked tens of thousands of miles. "No, I'll just buy 2 xiaobing, baked cake and griddle, at the fair." Yan Zixiu found another fruit knife, took an enamel plate for holding vegetables, filled a thermos of cold water, and put it on the car. I said to my uncle, "Uncle, borrow your scale from me as well." "Okay." Later, my uncle brought the scale and led the donkey to pull the car onto the road outside the yard. "You must keep an eye on the donkey. Don't worry." "Uncle, how do we sell carrots and sweet potatoes when we gather them now?" "Carrots cost 1.5 cents, sweet potatoes cost 3 cents. "Okay, I got it, I'm leaving." Lao Wanji is located 4.5 miles west of Xinliang village. There are gatherings on every single day in the lunar calendar, and meetings are held on the 9th, 19th, and 29th days of the lunar month. G is from morning until after breakfast. Yes, from morning until after lunch. Yan Zixiu was afraid of coming late and not having a good place, so he didn't chat with Wuyo all the way and hurried on. Upon arriving at the east end of Lao Wanji, it was still late. Good guy, people are everywhere. Judging from this situation, I can't get in either. I had no choice but to find an empty space in Jidongtu and use about 10 bricks to cushion the front and back of the cart. I untied the donkey and tied it to a nearby tree. Then opened the sack and exposed the carrots and sweet potatoes. Something moistened with spiritual liquid, with a smooth and intact skin, quite attractive. He rinsed the enamel plate and fruit knife with water again, washed a carrot and a sweet potato, cut them into small pieces, and placed them on the plate. They were red, white, and refreshing. With everything ready, he began to shout, "Delicious carrots, delicious sweet potatoes, fresh and sweet. Try them first and buy them later. Opportunities are rare." After shouting several times, most of the passers-by looked but didn't stop. Yan Zixiu wondered in his heart that every word I said was true. Why didn't anyone come? I shouted a few more times, but no one came. He understood a bit now, no wonder everyone was setting up a stall in the market. At the entrance of the village, those who haven't bought anything are in a hurry to enter, while those who have bought good things are in a hurry to leave. The inertia of their actions is too strong to stop. Wuyo appeared and said, "Let me shout for you. Hey, delicious carrots, delicious sweet potatoes, fresh and sweet. Try them first and then buy them. Opportunities are rare." This shout doesn't matter, almost everyone looked over and saw a bird shouting, it's really rare. People who haven't seen parrots, ask each other, what kind of bird is this? It's so beautiful. Hula, a large group of people gathered around. Yan Zixiu was startled and asked worry-free in his heart, how can everyone see you and hear you speak? I want people to see and hear, so that they can see and hear. Yan Zixiu gave Wuyo a thumbs up and said, please continue performing. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Market and Enlightenment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Market and Enlightenment. Delicious carrots, delicious sweet potatoes, fresh and sweet, try them first and buy them later, it's a rare opportunity. Worry-free's shout this time brought people's attention back to the goods. How do carrots sell? How do sweet potatoes sell? Several people asked worry-free. Yan Zixiu is speechless, I am the owner of the goods, okay. Carrots are worth 4 cents, sweet potatoes are worth 8 cents. They are sold at 5 pounds and not in small quantities, Yan Zixiu said, causing the crowd to disperse halfway. Most people who haven't left are just looking at birds. A middle-aged man with a calm demeanor and a Chinese character face kindly said, young man, everyone knows the current price. Your price is several times higher, and even if you put a stop to it, you won't be able to sell it. Worry-free took over and said, thank you for your kindness. You get what you pay for. This is a high-tech agricultural product, and the taste is absolutely delicious. How about you try it first? The middle-aged man with a Chinese face said, oh, high-tech agricultural products. But I've been having some toothache lately, it's too hard to eat. I'll try it. A young man with a red face picked up a piece of sweet potato and stuffed it into his mouth. He chewed it a few times and his eyes widened wide. It's delicious, it's really delicious. He picked up another piece of carrot and started eating it. The person next to me is half believing and half doubting. It's really fake, isn't it just a joke? If you see something, you can taste it for free. Yan Zixiu handed out the plate. After everyone tasted it, a satisfied smile appeared on their faces, as if they were savoring some happiness. After a moment of silence, people erupted and shouted, I'll have 5 pounds of carrots, I'll have 10 pounds of sweet potatoes. Competing to deliver money to Yan Zixiu. Yan Zixiu decisively said to the middle-aged man with a Chinese face, Uncle, please help me collect the money. You collect 1, I weigh 1. That's it. I'll give you 10 pounds of each sample. Okay, the middle-aged man with a Chinese face happily accepted and said to the people, everyone, come to my queue to pay. Hey, one by one. The first one, 5 pounds of carrots. Okay, 5 pounds of carrots. Yan Zixiu raised the scale high and then included a small carrot or sweet potato as a gift. The middle-aged man with a Chinese face nodded slightly in his eyes. Enough weight and additional gifts were learned by Yan Zixiu and his grandfather. Grandpa runs a bean sprout business, and every time he scales bean sprouts for clients, he gives them a sufficient amount of weight, and then adds a handful. When Yan Zixiu passed by school when he was a child, he witnessed it multiple times. It can be imagined that Grandpa's bean sprout business not only does not make money, but also often loses money. But Grandpa likes such generosity and makes friends. It can be said that making money is not my intention, and I love friendship the most. Every time Grandpa sells bean sprouts for a little bit of money, he sits down with friends from all over the country to eat, drink and enjoy the process. What should I do if I run out of capital? Grandpa asked Yan Zixiu's father Yan Xing for key points. Yan Xing ranks third. Grandpa said, "Hey third, I'm running out of business." Yan Sheng will give 3 to 5 yuan. In fact, Yan Sheng was just a contract worker at that time, earning only over 30 yuan per month. With 4 children in the family, he was constantly short of food and was also struggling. So, Grandpa's so-called business can still be maintained. However, my grandfather passed away in 1984 due to lung cancer. Yan Zixiu felt that if it were now, he would definitely be able to use the resources of the Immortal Mansion to cure his grandfather's illness. It's all a pity to think about it. Of course, perhaps Grandpa himself didn't regret it. At his funeral, many people came from all over the country, and the tents given by the mourners couldn't even hang up a large courtyard. This is also his life, right? After being busy for a while, gradually both carrots and sweet potatoes were about to bottom out. Yan Zixiu pulled an empty burlap bag and filled it with more than 10 pounds of both items, reserved for middle-aged people with Chinese characters. The middle-aged man with a Chinese face is also very open-minded, holding the money he receives all the time to show the innocence of the accounts. Yan Zixiu took out a $5 bill from his wallet and gave it to a little boy beside him with a plate, saying, "There are too many people in the collection. I have cars and donkeys here. Please help me buy 4 xiaobing, baked cake and griddle, and the rest is your running expenses." The little boy was very happy and went away. The middle-aged man with Guozilian's face said, "Xiaobing, baked cake and griddle, is 50 cents apiece. You give him so much, aren't you afraid that he will run away with the money?" Yan Zixiu said, "If you run away, then run away. Besides, I want to trust him. My father told me that when he was young, people from the countryside were very honest. When my father was young, his family sold steamed buns, and he used a fence to sell them from the west to the east of Shiheji. The people who bought the steamed buns were all on credit. Because everyone's things had not been sold yet, they didn't have money to buy them. When the market came to a halt, they would collect the money from the west and receive it from the east. No one owed money to run away. Sometimes he collected them late, and those who didn't pay were still waiting in the same place. Dough, a round basket woven with willow strips. The middle-aged man with a Chinese face sighed and said, "Yes, such trust is truly touching." While talking, the little boy came back from buying xiaobing, baked cake and griddle. Yan Zixiu thanked the little boy and gave him 2 carrots and 2 sweet potatoes. The boy left happily. Yan Zixiu said to the middle-aged man with Guozilian's face, "You have 2 xiaobing, baked cake and griddle. Then I'm not polite." The Guozilian middle-aged man handed Yan Zixiu the money, washed his hands with the water in the thermos, and slowly ate xiaobing, baked cake and griddle, on his own. Yan Zixiu counted and found 456 yuan. "Oh my goodness, it's worth 4 months of salary." As he tidied up the stall, he asked, "Uncle, what is your surname?" "My surname is Wu, my mouth is Tian Wu, and I'm Wu Daguang. I live on Liaowanji East Street, and everyone here knows me." "What about you?" "My name is Yan Zixiu, from Xinliang village in the east. I know when I ask. Here are carrots and sweet potatoes for you. If anyone else needs them, you can come to my house to buy them. Have a pleasant cooperation, Uncle Wu. See you next time." Yan Zixiu, "Good. Have a pleasant cooperation. Goodbye." On the way back, Yan Zixiu sat on the donkey cart and ate xiaobing, baked cake and griddle. He asked Wuyo, "Oh, why did you come out to shout for me today? Judging from the situation at the time, if I don't shout for you anymore, I won't be able to do anything in the morning." "Thank you very much. I've seen it outside, isn't it? We are a community of life." Upon hearing the words, "community of life," Yan Zixiu trembled deeply in his heart and said, "What does it mean? Wuyo suddenly recited in a very magnetic baritone. We, the waves of the same ocean, we, the leaves on the same tree, we, they are flowers from the same garden. After listening to the worry-free recitation, Yan Zixiu suddenly froze and entered a wonderful state, as if he and other life forms were both integrated and independent of each other. Wuyo hurriedly stopped the donkey and quietly accompanied Yan Zixiu. After a while, Yan Zixiu returned to normal and suddenly felt that the sky was far away, as if no one could forgive or tolerate him. He couldn't help but feel grateful and jumped out of the car, bowing deeply to Wuyo. You are really my teacher. How about I call you Wuyo teacher in the future? Wuyo smiled and said, Hee, we are martial brothers. You should call me Wuyo. Okay, it seems like there's no pressure like this. That's why give yourself so much pressure. By the way, who said the paragraph you recited just now? Yan Zixiu got into the car again and said. Seneca, an ancient Roman politician and philosopher. You know so much, Yan Zixiu sincerely admired. Worry-free and indifferent. I am between heaven and earth, like a small stone and a small wood in a big mountain. And whose famous quote is this? Your fellow villager, Zhuangzi. Zhuangzi. I have read some books that say he is the representative of the declining slave owner class. It is better to believe in books than to have no books. Will slave owners have equal ideas? Heaven and earth coexist with me, and all things are one with me. Will a person with such a mindset belong to the slave owner class? From a Taoist perspective, a person who has no hierarchy and does not even have a concept of hierarchy will represent which class? Speaking of which, Zhuangzi's level is similar to mine. Yan Zixiu felt like he couldn't keep up and said, yes. It seems like I need to understand Zhuangzi again when I have time. Energy level. What's this new concept? Gradually, you will understand everything. I suggest you have a comprehensive understanding of all 4 books and 3 mysteries when you have time. What are the 4 books and 3 mysteries? The Great Learning, the Doctrine of the Mean, the Analects of Confucius, and Mencius are the 4 books, the Book of Changes, Laozi, and Zhuangzi are the 3 mysteries. At this point, the treasure list appeared, and in the popular classics section of the Cangjing Pavilion, the 4 books and 3 mysteries were added. After presenting them for a while, they disappeared. Oh, okay. At 9 o'clock in the morning, Yan Zixiu received 20 threshing machines sent by Xiao Chen at the intersection of Jizhuang. Upon returning to the village, someone curiously asked, Zixiu, what is in your car? Hand-cranked corn thresher, come to my house later, anyone who helps can use it for free. This statement has aroused everyone's interest. Every year, washing corn and peeling corn makes my hands ache, and staying up late makes me feel uncomfortable. No one wants to suffer that kind of pain. So he followed a group of people to the Yan family and helped to unload the machine with all his might. Uncle walked over, untied the donkey, and let it out to let it roll and stretch its muscles, so that the animal would not easily get sick. Yan Zixiu demonstrated to everyone by moving a thresher, placing it properly, and then taking a corn cob. He shook the wheel with his left hand and pushed the corn cob into the work cylinder with his right hand. Sure enough, in a few seconds, all the corn kernels were threshed. The whole process is very easy and smooth. Picking up the corn kernels on the ground, they were all very intact. Everyone came up to try it out, and they all thought it was good. It's a great thing. This saves a lot of time, it's also easy. At this moment, my uncle also came over. Someone asked, Zixiu, how can I borrow your thresher? End of this chapter. Chapter 7. The Joy of Mutual Aid. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. The Joy of Mutual Aid. Yan Zixiu turned his head and asked his mother, Mother, what else is there at home lately? My mother said, the corn stalks in the field are so lumpy that they have been pulled home, and the manure from the manure pit has been pulled into the field. The straw of corn needs to be cut down at the roots, otherwise the roots under the soil will affect the planting of crops such as wheat in the next season. The cut-off roots contain a lot of wet soil, usually lying flat for a period of time to dry the lumps, breaking them one by one, and finally tying them up and pulling them home. Rural work is very romantic for those who haven't worked yet. The sunset, old cows, and cooking smoke are like a painting. Only those who have done it know that it is both hard and tiring. In the past, there were 4 brothers and sisters who helped each other at home. Now there are still so many married people, working jobs and contracted land. So a lot of work falls on my mother alone, and even if I ask for help, I have to bear a large part of it myself. Once, my mother sighed to my son Xiu and said, "When can I get rid of agricultural work?" The tone contains too much helplessness and fatigue. Yan Zixiu thought for a moment and had an idea. He said to everyone, young and old, "Let's change jobs. Today, those who help thresh corn will borrow a machine for free for 4 days. In fact, in 3 days, 1 person and 1 machine can all thresh their own corn. There are more people on site than machines, so if you can't help today, don't rush. Those who are willing to help break corn bumps, pull corn stalks, and help with defecation can borrow for 10 days for a day's work free of charge. Within 10 days, if you can't use it all, you can still lend it to others or rent it to others. The rent is tentatively set at 1 yuan per machine per day. Many people in rural areas can do mental arithmetic, and after thinking and discussing for a while, they all feel that it is very suitable. Some say they help thresh, some say they help pull manure, and some say they help to make bumps and pull corn stalks. Yan Zixiu said to his uncle, "Uncle, please take care of this matter. If the machine is available, you can decide to lend it out or rent it out. You can keep the rent for now and give half of it to my mother when the time comes." Uncle smiled and said, middle. So everyone happily began to help. Mother asked, "Zixiu, have you had breakfast yet? We have some food left for you." I ate 2 xiaobing, baked cake in griddle, and then I drank a bowl of sweet soup. In the morning, the rural areas usually stir white noodle soup, although no sugar is added, they also habitually say sweet soup. Yan Zixiu and his mother went to the kitchen together, serving noodles and soup while saying, "I sold 456 yuan at this market and kept it for my family. So much money. You don't need to keep so much at home, do you? You can keep half of it." Yan Zixiu is now a household with 10,000 yuan, and his mentality is different. "I don't need it. Don't worry, the money will get more and more. If anyone is close to you and in need of help, you have some extra money to support them. The remaining carrots and sweet potatoes at home should be sold at the market price, and they can still be sold for thousands of yuan." At this moment, Uncle walked over and said, "Zixiu, everything has been arranged. By the way, if someone buys a thresher, how can they tell them? The market price for this type of machine is 60. It takes about 30 days in autumn, and if you rent it out, you'll get 1 yuan a day. After 2 autumns, the capital will come back and you'll make a net profit. Maybe someone will buy it. Of course, you can't let Uncle work for nothing. He'll keep 10 yuan for each machine. When he enters the machine again in the future, he'll do it this way. Even for the farm work at home, I need your help more, so don't let my mother get tired. Uncle is a famous iron abacus. Quickly calculate, if these 20 units are sold, the commission will be 200 yuan. He couldn't close his mouth and said, "Don't worry, I will arrange everything for your family." Rural food, 3:30 p.m. Lunch in rural areas is usually eaten after 3 p.m. Before noon, all the corn cobs in the Yan family have been threshed. The helper loaded the corn into the hoard, tidied up the yard, and happily carried the thresher back to their homes. My mother looked at the clean yard with a relaxed expression on her face. Yan Zixiu was also very happy and said, "Mom, let me cook for lunch." "Okay, today I'll have a love affair." After a while, Yan Zixiu prepared the noodles, and of course, he also mixed the carrots with cold. The seasoning liquid of Xiangjishai must have been added as well. After the two women finished their delicious meal, Yan Zixiu said, "Mom, I want to go rest for a while." In fact, she wanted to go into the Immortal Mansion to take a look. My mother said, "Okay." As soon as the words fell, there was only a roar from the car's motor and it stopped outside the yard. Uncle Wu's voice came from outside. "Excuse me, is this Yan Zixiu's home?" Uncle's voice. "Yes. Uncle Wu." Yan Zixiu welcomed him out and saw a Liberation brand car parked outside. This is the most common type of truck at this time, with people sitting in the front and cargo being pulled at the back. Uncle Wu was carrying a black bag, with 4 strangers standing beside him, chatting with him. Several children from the village gathered around the car to watch the excitement. "Uncle Wu, why are you here?" Yan Zixiu greeted the guests, shaking hands and exchanging greetings. It's not because of your high-tech agricultural products. I distilled sweet potatoes and mixed carrots at home, and tasted them. It was an unimaginable delicacy. I didn't finish breakfast, so I invited these friends to my house to taste them. Uncle Wu pointed to his body and said, "Everyone agreed to come to you. How much do you have in your house? We'll make it at the market price." The 4 of them nodded respectfully. Yan Zixiu nodded to everyone and said, "Welcome, please come and sit at home." Everyone enters the courtyard. Yan Zixiu introduced, "Uncle Wu, this is my mother Tsifeng, and this is my uncle Siming." "Mother, uncle, this is Uncle Wu from Wu Daguang, Lao Wanji." "Sister Si, brother Si, hello." "Hello, brother Wu." Yan Zixiu moved some benches and invited everyone to sit in the yard. Pour tea for everyone. The so-called tea is actually plain water. But that's what rural areas are called. There are still a few thousand pounds of food, how many of you can finish it? Are you driving a car over? Uncle Wu pointed to a middle-aged fat man and said, "He runs a restaurant and consumes a lot." Pointing to a person with a big back hairstyle, he said, "This is the director of the Lao Wanji Township Supply and Marketing Cooperative. They also need a lot. No wonder. Then I'll borrow a big scale," Yan Zixiu said, thinking to himself. "No need, we have brought a scale." "You are so thoughtful." Uncle Wu said to him, "Let's talk, let's go weigh the others." The others stood up in response. Yan Zixiu said to his uncle, "Uncle, could you please help me?" Uncle nodded and said, "You guys talk." At the small dining table, only Uncle Wu and Yan Zixiu were left. Uncle Wu casually asked, "Zixiu, I see that you have a very organized way of speaking and dealing with things. Your temperament is also different, it seems that it is a bit different than in the morning. Are you at school or where do you work?" Yan Zixiu admired Uncle Wu's observation skills and said, "Uncle Wu is too praised. I work in Liyuan Township." "Liyuan Township, I know. It's a poor township." "Yes, it's quite difficult in all aspects. Today is not Sunday, why didn't you go to work?" Yan Zixiu felt that Uncle Wu's words were straightforward enough. "I took 3 days off sick." "Sick leave? You don't seem to be sick." Uncle Wu looked at Yan Zixiu's expression with some confusion. "It's like this. I was supposed to take a 3-day sick leave starting from yesterday, but I met a skilled traditional Chinese medicine practitioner yesterday morning and felt better. I came back yesterday afternoon to reassure my mother. I plan to go back to work early tomorrow morning." "Uncle Wu, I'm telling the truth. If I want to deceive you, I said I took a personal leave and you don't know the truth, do you?" Yan Zixiu patiently explained. "I believe in you and I am happy that you have met such a talented person. Seeing your performance on the show, I know that you are a kind person and will never deceive others or harm yourself. I understand when I speak. By the way, can I ask what's going on with your high-tech agricultural products? This is a biological regulator developed by the teacher who taught me agriculture. When used on fruits and vegetables, it can greatly enhance their color, aroma, and flavor. Yan Zixiu raised his master's banner again, and there must be top-notch agriculture in the Immortal Mansion. Is the difficulty of research and development high? Can it be produced in large quantities? The difficulty is not average high, Yan Zixiu thought to himself. Can it not be high? What level is the Immortal Mansion? As for mass production, the current quantity is only one bottle, although it can flavor millions of pounds, it is also limited, using a little less. He thought for a moment and said, if we can find a partner, mass production is still possible. Uncle Wu slapped his fist and said, that's great. Zixiu, to be honest, I'm the commissioner of our local administration. Yan Zixiu suddenly stood up and said, commissioner of the administration. This is a leader who is much higher than himself. Uncle Wu lightly pressed his hands and said, sit down. I treat you as an equal friend, and don't worry about those levels or anything. Yan Zixiu's spiritual cultivation played a role and he quickly relaxed. Yes, you are still a kind Uncle Wu. Old Time N, from November 2022, will update 2 chapters every day. Hope everyone can support, collect, and receive monthly tickets. I will tell the story seriously and well. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The Commissioner comes to buy vegetables. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The Commissioner comes to buy vegetables, that's right. We've also set up stalls selling sweet potatoes together. Uncle Wu nodded satisfactorily and the topic changed. You know, our Yingtian region is an agricultural area in the agricultural province. There is very little heavy industry, no minerals, and commerce is not developed. There is also a strategic task of ensuring food production. It's difficult to make everyone rich. However, when I saw your high-tech agricultural product today, my thinking suddenly opened up. If the technology can keep up, we can vigorously develop high-end fruit and vegetable products while maintaining our grain production tasks, and even export to earn foreign exchange. Uncle Wu, I also have this wish. I hope everyone is physically and mentally healthy, prosperous and happy. Ha ha ha, Uncle Wu burst out laughing heartily, causing the others in the yard to turn around and look around. He continued, it's been a long time since I felt so comfortable. This matter is very important. I'll arrange for someone to take the product to Beijing tomorrow to find authoritative institutions for testing and prepare for future exports. In addition, I suggest you start the high-end fruit and vegetable development pilot as soon as possible. If you have any difficulties, please call me. I'll write you my office address and phone information. He said, took out a pen and notebook from his black bag, wrote for a while, tore them off, and handed them over. Don't worry, Uncle Wu. I will start as soon as possible and report to you frequently. Please guide me more. Yan Zixiu took it with both hands and read it several times, remembering it in his heart. Then carefully packed the paper into the pocket of the shirt. Uncle Wu nodded and looked at the yard. Zixiu, haven't you grown corn in your house? How come the yard is so clean? Generally, corn farmers hang braided corn cobs on trees, on the walls, and everywhere during this season, which are golden and can be called a scene of autumn. Uncle Wu didn't see it, so he felt strange. Uncle Wu, we have planted 5 acres of corn. We can't see it in the yard because it has already been threshed and stored. So fast. How did you do it? I borrowed some manual threshers from my classmates, and in the morning some village workers changed jobs to help, but they all finished threshing. Look at that corner, isn't it all corn cobs and corn husks piled up? A manual thresher. Can you take me to take a look? Of course. Yan Zixiu stood up, Uncle Wu and I will go to your house to see the thresher. Uncle said, go ahead, your box is still in use. In my uncle's yard, de Gizi was shaking the wheel with one hand and pushing the corn stick into the work cylinder with the other. In 5 or 6 seconds, one stick was completely removed. Uncle Wu carefully checked and found that the corn kernels are not broken and the corn cobs are not rotten. He sought the approval of the big box and tried it himself, feeling very relaxed and effortless. He stood up happily and said, "This is a good thing that can be operated by the elderly and children in the countryside. It can reduce a lot of labor burden and save a lot of labor time." "Zixiu, where is this machine produced? How much is it sold for?" People have different thoughts when they stand at different heights. Yan Zixiu sighed in his heart and replied, "The market price is 60, and the factory price is 40.5. It was designed by my classmate and produced by Hongqing Machinery Factory in Yingtian County." 60. It's not expensive. The factory price is 45 yuan. Sure. Your classmate is a talented person. So, I'll consider arranging for the regional supply and marketing cooperative to purchase a batch and try it out. The two of them walked back and sat down at the Yan family. Regional supply and marketing cooperatives purchases, then to counties, townships, and farmers' hands, must not increase significantly. Uncle Wu waved his hand and said, "Supply and marketing cooperatives won't raise prices that much. Besides, they have the advantages of supply and marketing cooperatives, such as rich information, smooth channels, and fast distribution. We have 177 towns and more than 2,000 village committees in 8 counties and 1 city in Tiandi district. If each village committee has 10 units, we can purchase 20,000 units first." At this moment, the 3 factory directors should be extremely happy. Yan Zixiu thought to himself and said, "That would be more convenient." Uncle Wu was very excited and said, "Oh, my trip is not worth it. Farmers can reduce their burden and increase their income, and everything will be much better. However, since you are in Liyuan Township, it is not convenient to communicate with you. Are you interested in coming to the office and following me?" Yan Zixiu felt that this leap was a bit big. To work at the office. That's something that many people dare not dream of, and he couldn't react for a moment. I haven't become a full-time employee yet. What? When did you report to the village? It's been over a year since I checked in. Normally, it's time for me to become a regular employee, but the person in charge always puts off tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Uncle Wu knew exactly what was going on and said unhappily, "I'm waiting for you to give me a gift." This kind of cadre, really. What's his name? Uncle Wu won't send someone to investigate that guy, will he? Yan Zixiu couldn't bear it anymore, and he also felt that with money in his pocket now, giving a small gift wouldn't be a big deal. Well, let's not do it. I'll just show him that it's okay, because this little thing might hinder his future. Zixiu, do you know Fan Zhongyan of the Song dynasty? Once, he reviewed officials and marked off all those who were not qualified. Another minister, Fu Bai, said beside him, "If you mark off this, it will be the cry of a family." Fan Zhongyan replied, "It's better for a family to cry than for a group of people to cry. The so-called tolerance for others is an unintentional offense to you. If a person uses power for personal gain, endangers public interests, and you have the ability to punish him, but even turns a blind eye when you know about it, then it's not tolerance, but indulgence, which is a crime against the masses. Investigating this person is not just about tolerance. It is for your personal resolution of the issue of becoming a regular employee, and the key is to stop this culture of using public officials for personal gain. Besides, you are currently related to the prosperity of the entire region and need to be protected." Yan Zixiu pondered for a moment and nodded, "Uncle Wu, thank you for your teachings. I understand. This person's name is Feng Gang." Uncle Wu wrote in his notebook, "I understand. Don't worry, you will handle it according to discipline and regulations. Everyone is responsible for their words and actions. Also, what do you think of my proposal just now?" "Uncle Wu, I still want to exercise in Liyuan Township first and do a good job in piloting high-end fruits and vegetables. I will learn from you again when I have the opportunity in the future. Uncle Wu looked at Yan Zixiu with an appreciative gaze and said, okay. He felt that this young man was not keen on fame and status, had ideals and responsibilities, and was a good seedling. He said again, don't think meeting me was purely accidental. Yan Zixiu said, would Uncle Wu still be calculating and deliberately waiting for me at the east end of Lao Wanji? Uncle Wu chuckled and said, that's not true. Today was a coincidence. But just think about it, if you believe this good high-tech agricultural product comes out in less than a week, I will know. Someone will definitely report to the leader. Yan Zixiu said, I believe. At that time, I will still come to see you. So it's not accidental, but inevitable. Yan Zixiu nodded and said yes, deeply moved. Only by thinking about the leadership of the masses can he come to me. At this moment, the head of the Supply and Marketing Society and others walked over and said, we have all weighed and loaded the car. The total is 3,200 yuan. They handed Yan Zixiu a stack of money. Uncle also nodded, indicating no objection, and said, there are still dozens of pounds left for each. Yan Zixiu took out 200 bills and returned them, saying, I'll waive the odds. I'll treat you to dinner. He didn't count the rest and put them in his pocket. The guests were taken aback and then all laughed. Uncle opened his mouth but didn't say anything. Worry-free exclaimed, those who are fortunate are good at withdrawing their wealth. Director de Beitu smiled and said, okay, I've made friends with you. My name is Du Qing. The restaurant owner introduced himself as Ren Hongmao, and the driver was Zhao Lingji. There was also an accountant from a supply and marketing cooperative named Duan Xingpeng. Uncle Wu stood up to bid farewell and suddenly asked, why haven't you seen that parrot? Parrot. Mother and uncle were both stunned. Yan Zixiu felt a bit embarrassed. It likes freedom and flies everywhere. A carefree laughter came from his heart. Send out the gate and everyone get in the car. Uncle Wu and Director Du of the Supply and Marketing Cooperative sat in the driver's building, while the others climbed onto the carriage and waved goodbye. After seeing off the guests, Yan Zixiu left 1,000 yuan for his mother and said, I'll use the rest for now. Putting too much money at home is not very safe, after all, the overall rural area is not yet prosperous. My uncle looked at the money with bright eyes and said, I will sell these machines as soon as possible and ask you to buy another batch. Okay, uncle. Yan Zixiu responded and went out to take a walk in his private plot. For the pilot program of high-end fruits and vegetables, although he agreed readily, he was not completely confident in his heart. Relying solely on carrots and sweet potatoes was too single, and other fruits and vegetables were either out of season or not yet in season. Additionally, he did not know how to find a cooperative unit. There is a pear tree on the self-owned land that has been growing for almost 10 years, but its quality is not very good, with residue and some acidity, so everyone is not very interested in it. All the other pear trees have been picked, and there are still many pears hanging on this tree. Yan Zixiu looked at the pear tree with a slight movement in his heart, thinking that if local fruit trees could be replaced with varieties from the Immortal Mansion, wouldn't the path for this high-end fruit and vegetable be wider? At this moment, the light flashed and the treasure list appeared in front of me. After the Lingji garden, there are Shuiling pear tree times 1, Shuiling peach tree times 1, Huling jujube tree times 1, Huling apple tree times 1. What is the situation? Can we say that the more we consider everyone, the more spacious the passage of the Immortal Mansion becomes? Yan Zixiu decided to give the pear tree a try first. Replace the pear tree. I saw the pear tree in front of me begin to change, the trunk becoming smooth from wrinkled, the distribution of branches and leaves becoming more even, the size of the pear growing, and the shape becoming round. Thank you for voting and collecting, friends. Wishing you all health and happiness, and having money in your pockets. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Water Spirit Pear Trees and the Theory of Infinite Resources. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Water Spirit Pear Trees and the Theory of Infinite Resources. Since being nourished by the aura of immortality and eating 2 meals of food mixed with spiritual fluids, Yan Zixiu felt his body become lighter. The desire to climb trees that he had never had before suddenly emerged. When the pear tree stopped changing, he rubbed up the branches, picked more than half of the pears from top to bottom, and put them into the Qiankun ring. Jumping down from the tree, I took out one and saw the pear water was lively, round and full, with a fragrant aroma. I couldn't help but take a bite, but before chewing it twice, it completely turned into juice and flowed into my stomach without any residue. Crisp. Sweet. Beauty. Water. Fragrance. Happiness. Yan Zixiu had a deep understanding in his heart, and the matter of high-end fruits and vegetables had become a reality. He was pondering while eating, and the next step was to consider breeding fruit trees on a large scale. In May or June next year, cuttings can be harvested for cutting. Before that, we need to establish a seedling breeding base. Commissioner Wu will definitely support it. Let's go find Uncle Wu specifically in a few days. That's the idea. He looked at the treasure list again and found that it had become the Spirit Plantation Garden. Water Spirit Pear X Infinity, Water Spirit Peach Tree X1, Fire Spirit Date Tree X1, Fire Spirit Apple Tree X1. Originally, with a pear tree, Shuailing pears could be supplied infinitely. However, we cannot just sell countless pears from one tree like this. Don't you think it's just a fantasy? The Immortal Mansion and myself share the same goal of hoping for common prosperity. It is better to teach people to fish than to teach them to fish. It only takes a while to divide all the money. Planting spiritual fruit trees in every household is the right path. Yan Zixiu thought again. This tree is involved in the great cause of wealth, we must protect it well and not let others steal it. As soon as the thought started, there appeared a small protective formation after the Spirit Talisman Hall on the treasure list. X1. Yan Zixiu used his mind to click on the name, which appeared as an explanation. A small protective formation that protects a single fixed target, usually invisible and invisible. When encountering malicious individuals or animals stealing and damaging, it will spontaneously activate, causing the other party to experience symptoms such as stiffness, numbness, and palpitations. It can block bad breath, and automatically communicate with the spiritual energy of the Immortal Mansion, without the need for additional energy. The usage method is to open with thoughts. Yan Zixiu felt like he was dozing off and giving a pillow, and pointed at the Shuailing pear tree with his mind. A stream of light flashed under the tree roots and disappeared. There is still a small fixed protective array X1 on the list. Yan Zixiu realized that as long as it was used on the right path, it was necessary to supplement as much as needed. At this moment, he had another question and asked Wuyo, is the resources of the Immortal Mansion infinite? How did I hear that resources in the world are limited? Worry-free. It seems that you are becoming more and more familiar with the Medicine Master Immortal Mansion. Whether resources are limited or infinite cannot be generalized, it depends on which world it is. Simply put, there are worlds where resources are scarce when they arise, and if they cannot be developed, utilized, and distributed fairly, then scarcity becomes even more scarce. There are also worlds where resources are abundant when they arise, and development, utilization, and distribution are fair, then abundance becomes even more abundant. Moreover, there are also intertwined and evolving worlds, which is complex to elaborate on. Even if you are wealthy, you will still be able to complete the development, right? Don't worry. The road is endless, the world is endless. There is no need to measure infinity with a limited heart. This is a bit brain-burning. Anyway, I can rest assured that the resources of the Immortal Mansion will not be used up. Of course, I will make reasonable use of them and not waste them. Yan Zixiu returned home to let his mother taste the Shuiling pear, which was naturally a pleasant surprise. Yan Zixiu explained that there was a genetic mutation and asked his mother not to sell it at 3 times the price of an ordinary pear, except for giving it to relatives and friends. After dinner, Yan Zixiu greeted his mother and went back to the east room with a flashlight, closing the door. Wu You said, "No need to light kerosene lamps, use moonstones." A pebble with a pale white light appeared on the desk. "This thing is indeed stronger than kerosene lamps, pleasing to the eye and environmentally friendly. This is the love and protection of the Immortal Mansion for oneself." Yan Zixiu thought it was very novel, played with it for a while, and then decided to go to the Immortal Mansion. He looked at his watch at 7:30 p.m. He sat at his desk, gently closing his eyes and pondering. "I am currently relatively healthy and in a good mood. I hope everyone is healthy and happy." In a daze, he felt the lotus flowers in the Dantian rapidly grow and envelop the entire world. In an instant, we arrived at the foothold of the Immortal Mansion again. The scenery was still fresh and pleasant, but the spiritual energy seemed to be a bit stronger. Yan Zixiu asked Wu You, "Why has the spiritual energy increased compared to last time?" Wu You said, "What aspects of you have changed between last time and this time?" "It seems that my mental capacity has increased and I have had more positive interactions with others." "Can we say that the changes in spiritual energy are related to these?" "Yes. It is related to the development of your intelligence, the expansion of your mind, the firmness of your beliefs, the high-quality interaction in interpersonal relationships, and the benefits that relevant people gain from you, and so on." Yan Zixiu's mind was clear, and he clenched his fist secretly, feeling that he had taken the right path. "I heard Wu You say again, tomorrow you're going back to your hometown. You know the complexity of the village. So let's go do some preparation work first." "What preparations are being made?" "Those who know themselves are wise, and those who know others are wise. You need to learn the art of observing people. Let's go to the Sutra Pavilion and have a look in person. By the way, you are here, a divine soul body that can fly. Can I fly here? How can I fly?" Worry-free trembled its wings, and a beam of light flew into Yan Zixiu's eyebrows. When Yan Zi paused, he understood the method and pinched his fingers to recite a curse. Suddenly, a cloud of white clouds grew on the bottom of his feet, steadily lifting him up and floating in mid-air. Yan Zixiu danced happily, asking, "Can I fly in the real world?" "Not yet, we need to wait for you to reach a certain level of cultivation before we can. So in the real world, don't mess around. Don't worry, the son of a daughter can't afford to sit down. I still take good care of my own life. Besides, there are still many important things that I haven't done, so I won't risk myself. Where is the scripture storage building? Follow me." Wu You led Yan Zixiu to fly towards the building complex. Overlooking, there is a huge estate. Surrounded by mountains, there are 4 gardens, each covering about 100 acres. The gardens are colorful, with birds singing and flowers fragrant, and the flowers and fruits are lush and breathtaking. Divided by a silver-white road, 4 individual courtyards are arranged in an orderly manner, each covering about 100 acres. The courtyards consist of pavilions, towers, pavilions, halls, water pavilions, and gardens, along with willow banks and plum embankments, exuding exquisite elegance and tranquility. They fell into the palace complex in the middle and saw a main hall, magnificent, with 6 side halls on each side. The walls were made of white jade, the tiles were made of glass, and the pine, bamboo, plum, and orchids were interspersed in the front and back. The mountains and rocks were lush, and the flowing water was murmuring. The ground is paved with spiritual jade, with auspicious energy swirling around. I can't enjoy it all at once. Before Wu You led Yan Zixiu to a side hall, the plaque on the hall read 3 big characters. Although Yan Zixiu didn't recognize a single character, his intuition was, the scripture storage building. Upon entering the hall, the space inside looks much larger than the outside, with thousands of bookshelves horizontally and extending for more than 10 miles vertically. Each bookshelf is 7 or 8 zhang high, arranged with various golden and jade inscriptions. In the middle, there is a wide corridor that divides the bookshelves into two main parts. Left and right. The corridor is adorned with various exotic flowers and plants, with a refreshing and pleasant fragrance. Yan Zixiu felt a tingling sensation on his scalp and said, "Well, how many books do we need here? This is just a beginner's scripture pavilion. This is just beginner. How many levels are there in total? Junior, intermediate, advanced, top, starry C, each level is thousands of times more than the previous level." Yan Zixiu felt that his head was not enough and said, "Big brother, can we make it simpler? Worry-free." "Sure." With one wing, all the bookshelves and books disappeared, and the space became about the same size as what looked outside. Two light doors appeared in the middle. On a door, two characters are displayed, meaning Nidian. A door displays customs and traditions. Yan Zixiu said, "What does Nidian mean?" "The 3 treasures and 12 branches." "What does the meaning of 3 treasures and 12 branches mean?" "I'll know in the future." Yan Zixiu said, Where's the folk code?" Wuyo said, "Popular classics are content outside of internal classics. Today we need to read this part." Entering the Gate of Light in the Book of Customs, there is a clear sky with stars dotted around, and the number is unknown. Worry-free summoned a golden star and said, "This is the focus of today, the Qi technique." Yan Zixiu said, "Wang Qi Ju." Worry-free. Yes. After mastering the Qi watching technique, it can be said that you can understand people's health, diseases, blessings, misfortunes, and misfortunes from the top, astronomy, and geography. You can see them all. Yan Zixiu said, "It's too mysterious, isn't it superstition? Worry-free. Ignorance and blind obedience are what we call superstitions. The wishing Qi technique actually allows you to see subtle energy changes that ordinary people cannot see. Everything is nothing more than composed of information, energy, and matter. Information determines the energy field, which guides the distribution structure and direction of matter. Therefore, the changes in people and things are information changing first, energy changing second, and macroscopic material phenomena changing last. Can you see the changes in energy? Isn't it equivalent to being able to predict?" Yan Zixiu said, "Where am I? The Medicine Master Immortal Mansion or the Physics School? Worry-free. Are the two incompatible?" Yan Zixiu said, "Okay, it's me who's persistent. Can I see changes in information in the future?" End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Learning the Wishing Qi Technique in the Immortal Mansion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Learning the Wishing Qi Technique in the Immortal Mansion Worry-Free. If the water is still, it will be clear, and if the heart is calm, it will be spiritual. Everything is self-satisfied when you observe in silence. When your mind is at a certain level of tranquility, you can see the changes in information. Information is actually the fluctuation of your mind. You should first digest this starlight. I can't keep up with you again. Alright, one step at a time. Yan Zixiu sighed and put the golden starlight into his eyebrows to digest. It took a while before it was fully digested. The overall feeling is that Wang Qi Ju has been mastered since childhood. Worry-free. Go back, I have to wake up early tomorrow. Yan Zixiu returned to reality, while the moonstone was still quietly glowing. Look at the watch, it's 7:35 p.m. After being in the Immortal Mansion for so long, it only takes 5 minutes in the real world. Getting ready to sleep, the thought moved and the moonstone began to dim. That's really a good thing. There was nothing to say overnight, and it was a direct train until dawn. Yan Zixiu looked at the time. It was 6 o'clock in the morning, half an hour earlier than yesterday, and he was refreshed and without any drowsiness. He sighed about the high-quality sleep that still nurtures people, while getting up to wash up. My mother also got up early and was sweeping the yard again. After Yan Zixiu finished washing up, he now has the mood and leisure to look in the mirror. At first glance, I couldn't help but be surprised by the snack. It seemed like I didn't know myself for a moment. I saw a young man in the mirror with a clear eyebrow and a smooth complexion, very energetic. No wonder everyone said I looked good. It turned out that I had really changed a lot. He couldn't help but play with his heart. Wang Qiju. I saw a golden and silver light emanating from my head, about 3 to 4 inches in range, with some faint gray light. According to the Qi watching technique, golden light has a Buddhist fate, white light has an immortal fate, and gray is a mixture of good and evil. It is estimated that I was gray before encountering the Medicine Master's Immortal Mansion. He looked at his mother's head again, and there was a faint golden light in the light gray. Could it be that his mother also had a Buddhist fate, but the timing was not right? Thinking back to my previous superficial understanding of Buddhism, which I learned from listening to my mother's story of journey to the West when I was young. He understood in his heart that telling stories and listening to them is also a kind of fate. It's better not to think recklessly for now, we have to hurry back to work. By the way, walking to the official road and taking a chance to wait for the bus would take over an hour to reach the village at the fastest. He greeted his mother, picked up his leather bag, and went out. The so-called leather bags are actually made of artificial leather. After leaving the village for about a mile, with no one around, worry-free asked, "Are you walking like this?" Yan Zixiu said, "Yes, walk and try your luck by taking the bus. Worry-free. It's better to ride a bicycle." Yan Zixiu said, "There is a bicycle, but it's in the countryside. Worry-free. The treasure list includes optional small machinery X1. How about ordering a bicycle from Tiangong City? What brand do you like?" Yan Zixiu said, "Self-selection means that. It's a pigeon brand, light to ride." Suddenly, a bicycle stopped in front of me, shining brand new. It is indeed a pigeon brand with complete bell locks. Yan Zixiu said, "Big brother, take all of it. The new ones are easy to steal. Worry-free." "Don't worry, how can you steal it and bring it back?" Yan Zixiu said, "You're amazing." He hung his leather bag on the handlebar and tried riding it, only to find out that the bicycles he used to ride were all scum. Produced by Tiangong, honor guarantee. He happily rode to the west end of Zhejiang, and there was also a cyclist from the south. At first glance, isn't this Uncle Wu? Uncle Yan Ting is not tall, with thick eyebrows and big eyes. He is generous and has always had a good relationship with Yan Zixiu. When Uncle Wu first got married and had no children, he chose Yan Zixiu, the sister of Yan Zixiu, as his daughter. Later, I had a child and returned Zixiu. But my older sister still visits Uncle Wu every year. One spring festival, Yan Zixiu and his sister went to visit Wu Shu, a relative of the family, to deliver big steamed buns. It's almost at the door. Yan Zi can't think of delivering the steamed bun basket himself. Maybe Uncle Five will give New Year's money. As a result, Uncle Wu only gave his sister 20 cents as a New Year gift, which disappointed Yan Zixiu. When I grow up, looking back on these things, I just laugh them off. I guess Uncle Wu didn't have any money even if he wanted to give back then. Uncle Wu's 2 sons and 1 daughter still live a tight life to this day. Yan Zixiu quickly broke and shouted, "Uncle Wu! Get off the car and wait." Uncle Wu rode over and got off the bike. "Zixiu, how did you come back? Hey, you look so good." Coming again, Yan Zixiu had no choice but to use Clich As and ask, "Uncle Wu, what are you doing?" "This." Uncle Wu hesitated to speak. "Wang Qiju." Yan Zixiu looked and saw that Uncle Wu's head was mainly gray-white, with some money shapes vaguely jumping around. "Uncle Wu, have you encountered any difficulties? Tell me about it. Well, this is not the old house that I can't live in anymore. I need to renovate the house and I still need some money. I'll go to Jiazhuang to grind some. The rural area calls borrowing money grinding, because grinding means turnover. Yan Zixiu thought to himself that the Qi Ju was not bad, and indeed it was related to money. How much is still missing? About 400. 400 yuan is quite a bit. Judging from Uncle Wu's confidence, it is probably difficult to borrow it. Without saying a word, Yan Zixiu took out 500 bills from his wallet and said, "Uncle Wu, take them and use them first." "I won't be able to repay you for a while and a half," said Uncle Wu with a hint of water in his eyes. 500, it's not a small number. "You don't need to pay it back," Yan Zixiu waved his hand and said, feeling generous. "By the way, Uncle Wu, if you have time, go to my uncle's house today to see the corn thresher. If you're interested, I can help you get a batch of credit. You know many people in Nanxiang, and you can even get some activity money if you sell them. Also, you can take these water spirit pears to my grandmother. I have to hurry to work, I'll leave. Uncle Wu. You. Yan Zixiu has long since passed away. In the crisp autumn, he flew all the way and was in a good mood. Everything he saw looked like a painting, and in just half an hour, he arrived at the Pear Garden collection. As it was almost 8 o'clock, Yan Zixiu didn't get off the car even when he saw acquaintances. He briefly greeted them one by one, ding-lingling, and rode his bike into the township courtyard. He locked the car and carried his leather bag to go to the supervisor, Deputy Township Chief Wang, to cancel his leave. The conditions in the village are limited now, and everyone has both a residence and an office. "Mayor Wang, I'm back," Yan Zixiu said. The sub-characters of deputy township heads are generally not called. "Xiaoyan, why did you come back early?" Deputy Township Chief Wang is of medium height, relatively thin, with sparse hair and big eyes. "Oh, you look good. I have encountered a skilled traditional Chinese medicine practitioner who has helped me adjust my condition, so I have to cancel my leave early." Yan Zixiu's words were almost clear on his lips. "Oh, that's good. Since you're back, go to Gula village and check the progress of the autumn harvest." "Okay. I brought the pear from home, you try it." "Okay, let it go." Deputy Township Head Wang waved his hand. Yan Zixiu returned to his residence, opened the door, put down his wallet, and took 2 bowls and a pair of chopsticks to the kitchen. He said, "Uncle Zhang, do you have any more food?" This point should have been eaten by everyone, but usually more is kept because some township officials may have something to do and are not allowed to order it. Xiaoyan is back. There's still food. Master Zhang is a skinny old man with gray hair and is very kind to everyone. Yan Zixiu likes him very much. Master Zhang prepared the food and handed it over. "Hey, Xiaoyan, do you look good? I came across a skilled traditional Chinese medicine practitioner who helped me adjust my condition. They are all concerned about it, so just repeat it." Yan Zixiu rubbed his lips again, finished his meal, and washed the dishes. "Uncle Zhang, help me find a cloth bag, I'll go to the countryside to use it. I'll give you this pear to taste." "Okay, here's your cloth bag. Slow down on the way." After eating, Yan Zixiu did not directly go to the countryside, but go to the office and prepare to make a few phone calls. The office director, Lao Meng, is a rigid person who is not serious about speaking or laughing. But he generally doesn't care about making phone calls because there are almost no private phones below the county level. So there are very few people who use the phone for personal matters. He gave a Shuiling pear, but old Meng didn't look up at the newspaper. Yan Zixiu shook the handle of the phone a few times and tried to connect to the main line of the Township Post and Telecommunications Bureau. On the switchboard, there are those young girls on duty back and forth. Everyone is very familiar and can tell who they are at the sound of their voices. "Hello, Fengying, can you help me connect to the county switchboard? Can you connect me to the Linhe distillery? Can you connect me to the Linhe distillery? Can you please connect me to Director Yan? Yes, I am his son. Big, I am Zixiu. I want to tell you that I have come across a skilled traditional Chinese medicine practitioner who has adjusted my body. Yes, I have told my mother when I go home. Also, my classmate borrowed my corn thresher, and all the corn at home has been peeled. Yes, it's to reassure you. Okay, goodbye. Yan Zixiu knew his father was quiet, so he didn't say anything. Old-style telephones come with a handle, which can be seen in previous movies as early as the 1930s and 1940s. It's already the 1990s and still in use. Originally, each production team had a phone number, but now it's gone, so communication and contact are very inconvenient. I have to personally go to get through and issue orders. If you make a long-distance call to another city, it will be even more troublesome and you will need to make an appointment. He pressed down the phone and waited for a reply before calling the switchboard again. Fengming, could you please ask for the county switchboard again? Is the county switchboard? Please connect to Red Star Machinery Factory. Machinery Factory. Please connect to Director Zhu. Is Zhu brother? I am Yan Zixiu. It's like this. Yesterday, I met regional specialists Wu Daguang and Wu Commissioner. He was very interested in corn threshers and said that the regional supply and marketing headquarters needs to order 20,000 units. Yes, when I called you, I asked you to make an advance order. Okay, yes. We can discuss the money matter later when Yan Zixiu mentioned it to the local Commissioner Wu. Looking up in surprise, he seemed to want to ask something, but he didn't say anything. Yan Zixiu didn't explain either. He had planned to call Commissioner Wu again about Shuiling Pear, but hesitated for a moment before giving up. He greeted Director Meng and left. Gulu village is located in the southeast of Liuanji and can be reached by 2 roads. A pure dirt road, relatively close. A further route, half of which is an official road. Yan Zixiu rode his bike along the official road, facing south all the way. When he arrived at Heluan, he did not directly go down to the bottom of the river, but crossed the bridge to Xiaozhuang village across from him. There is a Hu family small restaurant on the official road, owned by a black-faced old Hu. Yan Zixiu sometimes goes back and forth to the countryside and cannot catch up with the meal, so he often eats here, so they are very familiar with each other. He first placed 101 threshing machines in the open space next to Lao Hu's restaurant, and then walked into the restaurant with a leather bag and cloth bag, saying, Lao Hu. The old iron workers refuel, collect, and pass. End of this chapter.